The US Navy give away a supercarrier for free? Yeah, you heard that right. The USS Kitty Hawk, a supercarrier that used to dominate the seas, was sold for a single penny, 1 cent. But how did that happen? The USS Kitty Hawk wasn't just any ship. It was once the pride of the US Navy, the flagship of the 7th Fleet. This massive floating city served for almost 50 years, carrying tens of thousands of sailors, seeing action from the Vietnam War all the way through the early 2000s. It's big. We're talking about a ship that's almost as long as 3 football fields. But instead of turning this ship into a museum for everyone to visit and remember, they sold it off for scrap. And not just for a regular price, but for 1 penny. That's right, a ship that was once worth billions was sold for less than a candy bar. Why? It's not because they didn't want to preserve it. The reason has everything to do with money and nuclear reactors. Here's the thing. Keeping an aircraft carrier, especially a supercarrier, running as a museum is super expensive. We're talking about millions of dollars every year, just for maintenance. And then, if it's a nuclear-powered carrier, like the newer ones, it's even more complicated. Before you can turn it into a museum, you've got to take out the nuclear reactor, and that's not cheap. But here's what really hurts. Kitty Hawk wasn't even nuclear-powered. It was conventionally powered, meaning it didn't have a reactor. So why couldn't it be saved? Well, no nonprofit could raise enough money to take on the costs. Kitty Hawk was just too big to handle. And when nobody can pay for it, the ship gets scrapped. But wait, it's not just the Kitty Hawk. The USS John F. Kennedy, another supercarrier, was also sold for just a penny. These were the last 2 conventionally powered supercarriers in the US Navy's fleet, and they're both going to end up in pieces. And here's where things get even crazier. The company that bought the ships for a penny isn't making a fortune either. Scrapping these ships costs millions of dollars. Lead paint, asbestos, and other dangerous materials mean that the scrapping process is complicated and expensive. So why did the Navy give them away? They just needed someone to take them off their hands, and the scrap company agreed to do it as a favor to the Navy. The truth is, turning these ships into museums sounds amazing, but it's not easy. If they don't make enough money as museums, they fail. That's happened before. And when that happens, guess who has to take the ship back? Yep, the US Navy. So instead of taking that risk, they just get rid of them.